Ralph, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to Faces of Fintech. In this video series, we're interviewing the tastemakers and the innovators behind the UK's most groundbreaking digital solutions. I can't wait to hear more about your journey and learn more about your mission to help businesses improve and achieve their goals. So to kick things off, I'd love to hear who you are, what do you do, and why do you do it?
Hi, Emma. Thank you very much for having me here. I've never been called a tastemaker before, but this is cool. I am the co-founder of Cresco with Eagle, who's sitting right next door to me. We are an account-to-account payment solution. This is sort of more commonly known as open banking payments. And if we can think of sort of payments being, some payments are concerning a point-of-sale device, which is how you pay when you go to the supermarket with a machine, and then you have online e-commerce checkout payments. Often companies like Stripe. We're very much an invoice payment solution. So we integrate with companies like Intuit, QuickBooks, Xero, and then building further integrations with other companies like Sage and Soho to have invoice payments paid instantly.
So I can see that your journey has mainly been finance-based. So why did you choose finance? Was there a reason behind it, or was it just fate?
So my career journey.
Yes.
I actually started a long time ago in theatre design, and then I don't think I was making as much money as I hoped. So I pivoted into sort of finance and banking, and then I left sort of asset management a few years ago to start up an SME lending company called ULend with some friends of mine. And then it was at this last company that because we were a regulated lending company, that I came across the technological kind of kernel of what we are now, which is open banking.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, this is really cool. I want to start a new company that is based upon open banking, because I think there's a lot we can do here.
100%. Yeah, completely agree. I mean, open banking is absolutely huge now, as in, I think nearly everybody uses open banking as much as they can, but I don't know if I'm correct in saying that not everybody knows the limit that it can go to and how to use it and what is available out there on the market for them and their business.
Yes, I think I look at open banking very much as just a change in technology. So a lot of the fintech and the products that we received recently have been built around providing a better customer experience, a better UX. If we were to look at some consumer products that we're very familiar with, let's say Monzo, the infrastructure behind Monzo isn't very different. I mean, and I love it. I use it. Here's my orange colored card, but you still see MasterCard there. So they've really just taken your old card and white labeled it, changed the branding a bit, and obviously attached it with a mobile app. But the payments themselves are still running on the same systems they were running beforehand. Whereas open banking and these card payments that are dominated by Visa and MasterCard go back to the 1950s. Whereas open banking is something new, and it's something that sort of started a few years ago, and these are sort of new bit of technology. So what we're doing with it now it's like, okay, we can pay invoices, will not be what I believe we can do with it tomorrow and in the years ahead. And that's what's very exciting. It's like, early days of the internet or something like that. It's like the future remains very unknown from a product perspective.
Definitely agree. So just going back to your time at ULend, is that sort of what inspired you and motivated you to want to build a software such as Cresco? Was there something that, resonated with you whilst you were there that made you think, wow, this is definitely what I want to do now?
Yes, there was two key problems. One, there was an operations problem that we had, which is when we were underwriting these small businesses, we would often ask for them to send 3 months bank statements. And it was very hard to get the small business owner to send 3 months bank statements. And often they would arrive in peculiar fashion. So they would take photographs of them, and then they would arrive with you, and you just manually, you'd have to go over them. And that's not how sort of software scales perfectly. I know ULEN's doing it much better now, but this was 5 years ago. And then the idea of PSD2, which is what we're very familiar with, through our accountancy feeds with Xero and QuickBooks, you can connect to that bank account and you don't just get 3 months, you could get maybe 10 years data, and you can get it in a machine readable format. So you wouldn't need to clean it. It could already be programmed. But the other part was, so I said, guys, we've got to be using this in underwriting. But then I saw the payment perspective, and that was very exciting, the ability to sort of initiate payments bank to bank. And when I left ULEND, I think sort of Igor and I were kind of discussing and having dinners and going for walks. And we were like, well, the accounting data is good, but it's probably more of a feature on top of existing products, whereas the payments can be a company in itself. So we decided to build a payments company. And then at ULEND, a lot of companies would borrow to pay off invoices. And we would often say, look, send us the invoices first and let me pay them. And I was just amazed at sort of how archaic these invoices were. And sometimes the account information was in the top right, and sometimes it was in the bottom left. And what was the reference? And it was just a very manual process paying these invoices. It's like, why can it not be as easy as walking into the coffee shop and just scanning something with your phone and running off? Yeah. So those were the sort of, one was identifying the technology, and the other was, here's a pain problem, and sort of trying to put the two together.
And do you think you've nailed that on the head now with where you are at, or is there still more to obviously come within this space?
No, I think we've done, I don't want to sort of tap ourselves on the back, but I think we've done very well with sort of the accountancy, the accounts receivables product. I think, our customers are very happy. They very confident, like referring their clients or their friends to use us, which is great. But I know there's a lot more that we can do within open banking. And I would say, one key thing is if B2C payments were really easy, which is the ones that we experience as consumers when we go to the supermarket or when we check out on Uber or Amazon. Yeah. And then it was, okay, let's make B2B payments as easy as B2C payments, which is quite a sort of standard narrative, and everyone's doing that right now. I think where we're looking at next is, okay, this is boring. I think we've already fixed this, or like we've made a good job at this. Let's make cross-border B2B payments even easier. And that's where we're really sort of getting quite excited about.
Well, I think Cresco are great. They obviously, they offer something which not many other platforms do. Cresco launched in 2020, and then since then it's absolutely soared with over 400 UK and EU integrated banks and over 100 million banks connected. So before we do go further into the likes of why it is so great, I firstly just want to say huge congratulations for raising 3 million in seed funding. So how was that? Would you mind just talking a little bit more around it and how that is now going to help Cresco with its growth?
Yes. When companies raise money, they're always very good at going, well, hey, we raised loads of money. It's like, well, and it's like, oh, that was a breeze. So we raised some original money in March 2020, and that was quite funny because that was right as COVID hit. Yeah. And I think we raised £700,000 back then. And that was really just nothing but a PowerPoint. It's like, I promise you, we're going to build this. Like, okay. And then stock markets dropped 30%. And though the investors had signed these term sheets, it was quite hard to actually get them to send the money in March 2020 when the world was sort of very nervous and not sure what was going to happen. So I was texting them or WhatsApping them going, hey, but eventually they sent it across. So that was quite amusing. And then with that money, we built a sort of early prototype, and we got our licenses, and we did certain integrations with Xero. And we got quite a few early customers. And that was me saying, okay, look, this is your MVP. I think it's a standard market, but much more than MVP. And then we did a seed round for 3 million. So we sort of raised 4 million in total. And that, I think at that point, it was good. I mean, we got there. Nothing's ever easy. I mean, if people say that they're easy, it's not what they say when they write their books and go, gosh, it was a real struggle and you had to convince people. And people ask you like, why doesn't Stripe do it? Or why doesn't Visa do it? Yeah. Or, aren't you just going to get killed by Go Cardless? It's like, well, these are all good reasons and you're absolutely right. And, but then, we're still going to try anyway.
Yeah.
And but fortunately, we found enough backers to raise 3 million. I think so now, if the first stage was MVP, that the 3 million is to prove product market fit, which is basically saying, do people like you? And I think that's where we're at now. And then we'll probably go out and raise a sort of Series A sometime later this year.
Oh, amazing! So there will be a second funding round.
And a third and a fourth and a fifth. Yeah. It's I think we're very much the stereotypical sort of startup where we believe that open banking is not, there's no glass ceiling to it. Yeah. And so the amount that we can spend in R&D and development and the amount of markets that we can enter.
Yeah.
And we, it's a race as well. We want to be there first.
Yeah, well, I would definitely keep my eye out for that. So now just going further into Cresco, I know we have briefly touched base on how it works and what it does, but would you mind just explaining a little bit further how it can benefit so many business owners out there who are watching right now?
Sure. So our value to that is you get the invoices that you sent out, you get them paid quicker. And you get them paid quicker because it's easier for the payer to pay via Cresco. So you would integrate with us. Maybe you already have an integration with Stripe, and maybe you have already an integration with PayPal or Go Cardless. These companies are expensive. They're like 2-3%. We process the transactions completely for free. We can go into that later. Our transactions settle instantly. So the case with Stripe is that quite often there's so many intermediaries involved that the payment can take 3 to 7 days to settle, but ours settle in real time. And then another key benefit that people really love is that in your bank statement, it will say the invoice ID. So if it's the invoice number INV/1001, it will give you some unidentifiable hash that is only used by Stripe or by Visa. And then you're like, well, what is this? I don't know what this is. And so we reconcile those payments. And then and an account-to-account payment is very much like a bank transfer, really, but it's making the bank transfer more convenient for the payer. So we have connected to all those banks that you mentioned over sort of, a couple of hundred around the EU. And we clicked on this pay now button on your invoice. We talk to the payer's bank and we say, look, this payer would like to pay, the customer, client. And these are the account details. This is the amount. And please, can you put this on the reference number? And then can you just authenticate the payment?
So I know they sync, obviously Cresco sync with Xero. What other softwares does it sync with? Because I know you mentioned that obviously it's just as simple as connecting it to your software and then sending an invoice and then being paid in less than a minute. So what other softwares does Cresco sync with, just in case anybody watching doesn't use Xero and instead use QuickBooks or Sage?
So we use QuickBooks. We're building out with Sage at the moment, building out with Zoho. We also have sort of other integrations with various platforms like WooCommerce and GoCart and sort of things of those nature. But I think what's key to understand is that a lot of companies are like saying, okay, we've integrated with Xero. We are not providing the dashboard. Once you integrate with us, you carry on sending your invoices as per normal through Xero. It's just on that invoice, there will be a link that essentially says pay now. and that will provide a more convenient checkout option for your client. And then it's, fifth law of thermodynamics that, if you increase the convenience of payment, you increase the probability to get paid.
Yeah, definitely. And I do just want to add to that point that I did set up our very first client on Cresco a few days ago, and it literally took me a matter of minutes just to set them up on the dashboard and then connect it to Xero. And before I knew it, I was literally sending out their invoices with the Cresco link already set up for me. So obviously, if people are watching now, I do just want to make that point that it is tremendously easy to set it up your first time. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point. But
that's music to my ears, and this is not a sponsored. We haven't sponsored anything yet.
Yeah, you're not paying me to say that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
One thing that I do just want to ask, if you don't mind, is obviously it's probably a question that is asked on a daily basis. But
can I guess it?
Go on.
Is it why are we free?
Yes, that is the question. How did you know?
It's funny. It's like, oh gosh, I thought if you made something free, people would like it. But I think it scares people. It's probably, especially dealing with accountants, that they're so sort of aware of the importance of free cash flow and things like that. The reason the Stripe and PayPal payments are so expensive is because there's many different intermediaries. It's not just Stripe or PayPal. They have to pay Visa, they have to pay the merchant acquirers, they have to pay the payment solution providers, the fraud systems. And so, for accountants, you say they've got a very high cost of goods sold, if that's what you're looking at. With us, there is no cost of goods sold. It doesn't cost us anything. It's the same as it would cost WhatsApp to process a message.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, fine. There was some thinking that domestic payments are kind of getting commoditized and going to Xero anyway. So, the same way that an SMS used to cost you 50p, and then it was, maybe 100 SMSs for £1, and now we send thousands of messages a day for free. So we're like, okay, if it's going to Xero, let's just get to the end. Yeah. And then we'll build more value-added products on top. So one key way that we sort of do monetize things is through international payments. So you would make an international transfer from your domestic sterling account, and then we will collect that money and settle it locally in Hong Kong dollars, and we'll take a fee for that. So that's a sort of spread, the same way that same business model as Wise, for example. But on top of Wise doesn't process domestic payments. Or, they might do. I don't want to talk badly about Wise. It's a great company, and I don't know. But that's one way. And then there are other value adds like recurring payments. So we can set up standing orders, and for that you have to apply to a subscription of £10 a month or something like that.
Amazing. So have you heard from a business where, they were using Bax in the past or a different sort of payment platform, and they've moved to Cresco, and it's really changed the way that their cash flow works, the time that they're getting paid via their invoices, etc. Has anyone actually come to you and said, this is absolutely amazing, Cresco has changed my life?
I shouldn't be the one to toot my own horn, but I think it's happened to quite a lot. I think a lot of our customers, and you can sort of see that with our online reviews that are or real reviews that we haven't sort of paid for either. I think a lot of people, common phrases are too good to be true, or where was this until now, or lifesaver, and that's really, really, really cool.
Yeah.
And that's what we're interested in as a company. It's about finding a good product, really. What do our clients want? Do our customers want? And can we build it? And when we build it, is it super intuitive and does it work really well? And that's it. And to go back to your free comment, I probably gave you quite a sort of standard answer that I might give investors. But the way that I feel personally is, having had this last company or being part of this last company, we struggled to get customers. It's a huge company now and they've done really, really well. But those early customers were really hard to get. And having come from a sort of investment banking background, I always used to think, I was always looking at companies going, well, what are their assets on their balance sheet? And, what's the goodwill, and what are the intangibles, and have they got any IP? And then having sort of been part of building a company beforehand, I go, gosh, no, the biggest asset any company's balance sheet are their customers. Like, how many customers do they have? How happy are they? Because once you've got happy customers, I think they trust you, and then you can build more things for them, and you can go, okay, like, what else are you suffering with? Because we've got a great team of developers here, and I bet you we can build a solution to that problem, and then tell us how much you'll want to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, besides being free, what would you say that the other competitive points are compared to softwares that are available on the market, such as Stripe and PayPal, etc.?
So I think you've got sort of 3 or 4 ways to check out via sort of accountancy software right now: Stripe, PayPal, Go Cardless, and ourselves. We're the only ones to settle payments, so not free, but in real time.
Yeah.
So instantly, the minute they pay, it settles. And I think the reconciliation. I think everyone, interestingly, really likes the fact that what they see on their bank statement mirrors exactly the invoice. It's not a reference. The bank statement reference isn't for Go Cardless or isn't for Stripe. It's for you. And that's like, okay, oh, wow, that matches up really easily. And that's kind of cool.
I have to say that is like music to an accountant's ears, being able to match up a transaction against an invoice so easily. So that is definitely a winner in our eyes, I think. Moving on from Cresco, what I would love to talk about are your biggest successes. So what is it you are most proud of? It can be anything. It doesn't have to be in regards to what it is you're currently doing, but I would just love to know what it is you're most proud of.
Probably 2 things. One, I think our team is really, really cool. And there are these cliches, but they're cliches for a reason. So culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I was talking to another VC the other day, and they were saying the one thing that they ask for, it's not some net promoter score, it's how happy is your team.
Yes.
Because if you can get a good team that everyone's sort of singing to the same hymn on the same tune, and if they're all in the same boat, rowing the same direction, you can take on any industry in any vertical at any time. And I think that's what we have.
Yeah.
Now we're, still small. We're 20 or so people. When you get to 100 people, that obviously has its own difficulties. But for now, that's great. And as far as I'm aware, that's still going well. And, I hope we spend enough time on making sure that, everyone's on the same page and culturally. I also think our clients have been really cool. Like our early users, yourself and whoever, it's been really helpful to get the feedback, because, when we went live, for sure, there were like problems and bugs, and the best people to tell us to build the product have been, these sort of early users of ours, and the accountants that like, hey, Ralph, I would do it like this, and okay, fine,
yeah,
you like, we're just here to build the product, but if you tell us what to build, we'll build it. So those are the 2 great things. I think we've got a lot of internal goodwill with the team, and I believe that we have a lot of goodwill with our users. So that's what I'm most proud of.
That's great. And are you all in an office at the moment, or are you still doing working from home, obviously due to the situation?
Some of us in the office. So that's Eagle, the co-founder. Some of the other guys are in the back. But no, I mean, I think, what are we? We're like flexi remote. So, and we've got an office over there. If you want to come in, you can. If you don't want to, like, stay at home, and play with your kids, and, stuff like that.
I mean, like everybody says, having happy staff is literally the key to a successful business. So it's definitely the best thing, I think.
Yeah. No, something that I sort of learned recently, and sort of as time progresses, I just appreciate more and more and more.
Definitely. I completely agree with that. So what has been the toughest challenge that you have experienced so far in regards to, obviously, your background in finance and Cresco, etc.?
It's a good question.
It's one that everybody always gets stuck on, because you have to think for a minute, I think, just to try and, get your bearings and think about it.
I know. Sorry, I don't want to give any sort of like radio silence. What's the toughest challenge? Sometimes it's probably being saying no to business. Yeah, that's it. There were some avenues that we could go down. When you're small in the past, you just want to do everything, like whatever we can do to grow. And we had some sort of large contracts, and it could be for sort of utility companies or, a type of, the HMRC contract, for example. And we were just like, I don't think that's us. Like, it would be huge. And if you put it on your deck and the KPIs go up massively, so actually, I don't think we really want to be processing payments for British Gas. I think we're really about products and being close to our customers and finding out what else we can build for them. So when you're struggling to grow and there's a certain tenders that are coming in or RFPs and, even like agreed contracts, we're like, we really want to look like we're growing, but I think this would be a terrible distraction from where we want to be. And where we want to be is looking after sort of, the SMEs and not the large enterprise.
No, that sounds great. So if for the SMEs who are watching right now, what piece of tech-related advice would you give to them for those who are obviously looking to change the way they maybe are taking their payments or, want to be more within the finance industry side of things? What advice would you give them around that?
So the one thing that I also learned bringing in here is you can build a really cool super app, but people haven't got time to learn it. If you're running a business, maybe you're trying to renegotiate your rent or you're running down to the port to look for your goods, whatever it may be, you're probably not sitting at a computer going, okay, this looks like a cool tool. Have I got 2 hours to like figure out how to use it and train myself? So what we have done is by trying to integrate with your existing software. You just need to register with Cresco, and then all your invoices, let's say if you are using QuickBooks or Xero, already have that link attached to them. And I think, one from a building point of view, but also like that should mean, please don't be afraid to connect to us, because actually you really don't need to learn anything. Yeah. You just need to like get redirected, create an account, and then it's gone. Like beforehand, your invoices may have got paid manually. Now they can get paid online. Yeah. And there's nothing for you to do.
Yeah. Definitely. I can add to that and say, I think being afraid of using a new software is always one of the main things that I do here. Obviously, Cresco are always in hand, Ralph Rogge are always in hand to help assist with the setup and things like that. But like I said, I think it was a couple of questions ago, when I set it up for myself for the first time a few days ago, it literally took me a number of minutes and it was just so self-explanatory on how to do it. So obviously, yes, fear is a very big factor, but I think once it's set up and it's done, everybody will then start to realize what an amazing function it is to have that in their everyday business lives.
Yeah, that's it. And then what's quite interesting from our point of view, so we obviously have this data, and so one of the data you look at is sort of churn and monthly active users. And quite often the standard thing is, let's say you were to download an app from the App Store. Typically, and this is very industry standard, it's absolutely fine, after 3 months, the likely retention ratio is 20%. Yeah, and that's okay. We do it the whole time. Like we download apps, and like, it's not for us, or But weirdly, with us, it grows as month increase. So month on month, we're like, oh no, people are much more familiar with this. That you're getting more invoices paid via Cresco, and that's quite a cool bit of data that we're sort of looking at and quite proud about. Is it's that initial, I'm not sure about it. But then once you've got your first payment in, you're like, oh, that was really easy. And then the second one, it just continues.
100%. And just to confirm, is there a mobile app and the web browser version?
No, I mean, there's again, so, all you need to do is sort of connect, and then it just runs out of Xero or QuickBooks or whatever it is. But if you want to, yes, we have a dashboard that you can log into yourself, and you can create payment links manually, should you like to, and you can see your payments coming in. But no, we haven't built a mobile app. But I don't think it's needed, really, because everything's running through Xero or QuickBooks anyway.
Just to go back to that dashboard, so what is it that everybody is able to view? I know obviously it will have the number of income and invoices that have been paid for a certain period of time, but what else and what sort of data can it give the users?
So, there's no point in reinventing the wheel, and you stand upon the shoulders of giants. The dashboard is very like probably the dashboard you'd be familiar with if you were to use PayPal or Stripe. It will show you, the payments coming in, but you can also have the opportunity to, let's say, create manual payment links. It can show you things like your account balance, if you want to create recurring payment links. And, with time, we'll probably add more features to it and more products to it. But at the moment, it's more of a sort of data dashboard that's showing you how, from a payment perspective.
Brilliant. So what is next for Cresco? Are there any exciting releases that you are allowed to share with me?
We are, as I said, we're sort of not quite there yet, but Eagle keeps promising me every month. No, it'll be soon. I think our goal, where we really want to be, like from a sort of spiritual, meaningful purpose, is really helping cross-border payments. And I know, the world or certain sort of politicians are becoming quite nationalistic. We're still, we would like to believe in like globalization and the ability to make trade more convenient between, let's say, China and Europe, or Europe and Africa, and just, to get rid of these certain, so it's, concerns, the lack of trust when you're paying in a foreign bank account. So the big product that I'm personally really excited to release is that FX product. How to make it really easy to pay. So in that case, we obviously need to onboard clients in Asia that will send invoices into Europe, but then you can pay it directly from your European bank account without having to create a dollar account or something like that. And hopefully that will be before everyone goes on summer holiday. So in a couple of months latest.
Great timing. No, I will definitely obviously keep a lookout for that. So that is something that is really exciting. Well, Ralph, thank you so much for taking your time today and joining me on Faces of Fintech. It has been absolutely great to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Emma, thank you very much. This was really good fun. So
thank you.
It's very cool.
If you like this episode, go and have a listen to the rest of the series. We are Raffingers, and you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Raffingers. Alternatively, you can visit our website at raffingers.co.uk. I've been your host, Emma Cohen, and this is Faces of Fintech.